Hello, you guys. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I'm your host, Carly Pynchon. If you've never been here before, thank you for joining. I just recorded a podcast episode with a friend, and she's going to be coming on this week to record one with me. And I just felt like I'm going to make this one really quick, but as an exercise that you can do if you are currently or in the past have gone through a breakup, or you're going through a separation, or you're going through a divorce, or even you're in a new relationship, but there's past relationships that really hurt you, or like relationships you never really got closure from, relationships you never really got answers from, relationships where there's just a lot of pain, a lot of heartache. I did an exercise that I feel was so helpful, cathartic, healing for me. It doesn't even matter about the other person. This just helped me. And so I wanted to share with you guys what I did because I just feel like it could help one of you. And it's been so powerful. I'm processing the emotions honestly today. So I can't even speak to everything that I've learned from it, except for I feel like I need to record this while it's fresh and the emotions are there, because you guys will hear that in my voice and it may encourage you to do the same thing. So with that, the first step that I took, okay, first of all, I wrote a letter, okay? I wrote a letter, and I'm going to explain what I did and how I did it in a minute. But the first step I did, I went to Awaken now. My first one was in March of 2023. It's February of 2024 when I'm recording this. So it has almost been a year. A year ago is when I first heard about a cord cutting meditation. And that as a female, especially anyone that you have had sex with, you have to see it as like you're a circle, you're open, you're cyclical, you are receptive. As a female, you receive. As a male, you give, okay? When they have sex with you, they're giving you energy. You are going through a sacred energy exchange when you open up your body and you have sex with somebody. This is why I have such strong opinions on not letting anybody into your field as much as you want to, as much as you could feel turned on, as much as you want to have sex with people. Like, be really mindful who you're letting into your body, because when they enter you, you are taking on their energy. Okay. So anyone that you have had sex with, this is even if you were married in a relationship, like this could be an energy leak and a block that is still holding you down to this day. If you haven't done these types of things to fully process and release it, because you could be totally over them. It doesn't mean that you have feelings for them or anything like that. But they could have a hold on you. They could have a hold on your energy that you're not even aware of, that you need to release and get rid of and let go of. And so a cord cutting meditation is one way that you can do this. And this is what I learned about a couple years ago. And it was so interesting because not a couple years ago, last year, and we were in breath work or doing meditation, I can't remember. And we were guided to whoever popped into our head to release them. And I was just about to go through a separation with my husband. So I thought, like, of course he's going to pop up. Or like this other guy, I was like, maybe he'll pop up. I was not expecting like my first boyfriend my second boyfriend who caused me like the most, I would say, like emotional pain, him to pop up. That's who popped up. And I went, whoa, like that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting like my current relationships that I'm processing. Like, who knew that still had such a hold on me? But that's the name that came through. And so I went through a cord cutting meditation with that. And what I learned was, wow, I was still holding on to so much from that relationship because of who it made me. So it wasn't I was holding on to him. I was holding on to the hurt and the pain, and I was cheated on, and I was betrayed, and I was abused, and all these things. I was, right? Victim story, kind of. Rather than who was I that like chose a person like that and allowed that type of behavior towards myself. But that's a whole other thing. So I allowed that to be part of my story. I allowed it to be who I was. And that was a massive reason I had a guarded and hardened heart, was from that relationship. Not to mention like just all the things that went down in that time of my life. Drugs, alcohol, substances, like gang stuff, like all the stuff. Right. And so in that moment, I went, holy crap, you have made this relationship part of who you are. This thing that happened to you is now part of who you are. And it's not. Like that's not who you are. That's not your true essence. And so it made me go, holy crap. And as I had to release it, you guys, the emotions that were coming through my body, because I was like, you are going through a death rebirth cycle as you go, holy crap, but if I let this go, who am I without it? And you almost, as much as it's causing you pain, you want to hold it. And so I'm doing this exercise and I'm trying to let it go. And my body, you guys, is tensing and convulsing and like did not want to let it go, because it's like, if I let this go though, who am I without it? If I let this go though, who am I without this protection? If I let this go, like, who am I? Who am I going to be when this is done? Who am I without that story? And I was so afraid of that new beginning that I was holding on to the pain. I was still allowing the pain to control a massive part of me and like block my heart. And without a cord cutting meditation, I wouldn't have known that I was still holding on to old energy. And so the point of that is, first step, you can do cord cutting meditations for anyone you've ever had sex with. And you can also do a cord cutting for like any relationship that's been in your life. You can do cord cuttings with your parents, with your mom, with your dad, with a sibling, with a friend. You can do these for anybody who could still have an energetic hold on you, right? Okay, so that's step one. Learned about that about a year ago. Then I went through and did it. I've done another one since then with the other partners, okay? And the other night, or like, this was like Christmas, I think, all of a sudden I went, I need to write a letter. And I feel like if you are going through a separation, divorce, breakup, that you need to create space to do these little, almost like rituals to help like get rid of this energy that's no longer serving you, or like really create a like a separation so that the energy is not still holding you, because we can think we've moved on and not realize that like that energy has still got us and it's an energetic block from anything else coming in. So I just had this feeling like you need to write a letter. If you guys are never going to communicate and talk about everything that ever happened, and if you're unable to fully communicate, just get all of your feelings down. Like, even if you never come back together, if you never have this conversation, you need to do this for you. And so I sat there and I went, all right, let's write a letter from the very beginning of everything I felt and all the things that I felt and the times that I didn't feel loved or seen or heard or cared for, or the times where my intuition was questioned, or the times where I wasn't sure, but all these things. Okay. So I just let myself free write. And I don't even know, it must've been like 4 to 10 pages. I don't even know. I was bawling my eyes out, like bawling. It was like 1 a.m. when I started this. And I remember sitting on my bed and I'm writing and my hand is hurting, but I'm like getting all my feelings out and all the thoughts out. And I'm freaking bawling like a mess, crying. And at the end of that, I just went, oh, like, when you cry really good and you release and you put all your feelings out there, how good it feels. Like, it's so scary to like think about doing that exercise, because you're like, oh gosh, it's going to bring a lot up. And you honestly don't know what's going to get brought up, but I'm so glad I did it. And it's been 2 months almost that I have had that letter sitting beside my bed and I didn't do anything with it. And this is what I want to say is, it doesn't mean you have to give it to this person. You could decide that you're just going to write it for you, and you can act as if it's to that person. And it doesn't mean you ever have to even give it to them. You can just write it all down and act as if you're giving it to them, and then it gets it out of you as if you communicated that to the person. And this was so healing for me, you guys. Just the act of writing that letter and getting everything I ever felt out on paper was huge. So if you've never done this with an ex-partner, even your current partner, everything going on between you guys that you're feeling stressed about or is driving you apart, or the past hurts within your current relationship, like, write a letter. And you can decide when your emotions have moved through you if you want to give it to that person. But honestly, reflecting back, because I gave it to Daniel yesterday, I brought it up and I told him I had it, and then he brought it up and I was like, okay, I'll give it to you. I'm like, do you really want it? And I never reread it. So I'm like cringing, you guys. I feel like vulnerable. I'm going to throw up. I felt so vulnerable. I wanted to die handing it over, because it's like my heart, everything I've felt is like on those pages. It was so vulnerable to have to hand it over and give it to him. But I also knew, I was like, okay, if you want this, like, this could be part of your own healing journey. And like, at least we're communicating through everything that we never communicated through in our relationship. And so that's why I'm saying right now, I'm like, actually, if you're in a partnership right now, this could be a really powerful exercise to even do within your partnership. And then you guys can decide if you want to give it to each other or not. I would write it with the intention no one's ever going to see it, just to truly communicate your heart and not worry about how someone else is going to perceive it. And then when the emotions have moved through in a month, a week, 3 weeks, you can decide if you want to share that with your current partner or even an ex-partner. Okay. So it's been almost 2 months. So I gave it to him yesterday and he responded almost right away via text. And I said, good thing we know how to communicate via letter and text, because we can never just actually talk to each other in our marriage. Like, we talked, but the person I am right now and how I know how to communicate and how I know how to work within a relationship is not who I was 8-10 years ago when we got together. Like, I'm a totally different person now. I'm confident in who I am. I'm not afraid to speak my feelings. I'm not afraid to speak my truth. I'm not afraid to speak my heart. So I don't have a problem communicating this now. But back then, I always questioned myself. I always wasn't sure. And I did communicate, but not the way I do now. And so anyways, we were making a joke. So I'm like, at least we can like text and write letters, but we can't actually like talk face to face. And in that letter response that he sent me, it validated a bunch of things that this is going to be hard because I'm like, it's really raw. Okay, I'm going to try to stay in my logic brain and just say it and not feel it, because then I'm going to be a mess. And I have to go to an event tonight, so I have makeup on. But in the response, it validated things that I used to. And here's the thing too. Our separation is not fresh, right? It's coming up to a year. A lot of emotions have been moved through. We're in a good place in how we connect and communicate and can talk to each other and co-parent and all of this stuff. Like, we're in a really good, healthy place. So if emotions were still really like tense, I don't think we could have communicated the way we did through my letter and his response. Okay. But in there, he did validate, and this is something he's never said to me. Never, ever, ever has he said this. But this is what I mean. I questioned, you guys, if you've listened to my podcast, you've heard this before. I had this feeling of like never feeling chosen, right? And I realized I had to choose myself, but also in a relationship, I do think you should feel chosen by your partner. And I always had this like off feeling. And in the beginning of our relationship, there was a lot of stuff that happened that made it feel really off. And it like created this separation where we were just like, this is so weird. Like, what is this? Like, it was honestly all to do with intimacy. And he finally admitted in the letter that he was like, it was so weird and it was so challenging that like, I didn't think we were supposed to be together. And I actually thought about breaking up with you. And then you got pregnant. Okay. I had a feeling, but when you actually hear it back to you, you're like it took me back. Okay. And I've been feeling it since last night. It made me feel sick. And I was like asking my body, I'm like, okay, body, you knew this. So where is this stored? Like, where do I feel this in my body? Where do I need to move through this? What emotions are in there that need to come up? And I feel like throwing up just thinking about it. And I have a pain right here. And this is where like you communicating and reconnecting to your body can be so powerful, because you can be like, okay, body, like, where is this emotion stored? Where do I feel this within my body? And just wait and see. You might have tingles show up somewhere. So my stomach is upset. My shoulder immediately is in pain. And so it's just those little connections where you can be like, oh, wow, okay, like this is maybe what this pain has been about, because it's stored here, or currently it's stored here, whatever. And then you know how to kind of try to get it out and move through it. Anyways, that was a lot. And what I wanted to say on that is the reason this is so valuable to write that letter, whether you give it to them or not, what it's shown me, you guys, as females, our intuition, even as males, our intuition is so powerful. Our intuition is a like God-given superpower, okay? It is a God-given superpower that you have within your body. It is a feeling. We are feeling beings. The whole experience of being here on earth is to feel in a physical body. And your intuition allows you to have this knowing, this feeling that is a guide. It's like your special little angel guide that's with you all the time. It's like, you can think of it as like your God voice, okay? It's all-knowing truth. Your intuition is all-knowing truth. And I knew, my body knew. I felt this within my being. I felt it within the first 2 years of our relationship. I would ask him, are you sure you even love me? Do you even love me? Do you even want to be with me? Are you sure you even want this? Like, did you ever really love me? These are questions I would ask. I would ask them. He never validated it then, and he never ever said, like, no, I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to be with you. He never said this until now. We've been separated for a year. Even during the separation, he never said this. Even when we were trying to figure out if we're going to stay together, he never said this. So what I want to say is that feeling that you have within you, that intuitive knowing, you do not need their answers. Was this therapeutic for me to hear the answer and be like, wow, okay, I wasn't freaking crazy and everything I used to feel was true? Yes, it's very helpful for me to just reiterate that I need to trust myself, that I don't need to know why. I don't need to have the exact answer. I don't need to know everything to know that there's certain things that, like, it just doesn't feel right, or I can just feel something's off, and you don't need to know why. You don't need to see the proof. You don't need to see anything. You can feel it in your body and know that that is true. And by reestablishing my relationship with my intuition and that trust within myself, this was just another example of how freaking powerful it is. And my dog's barking. Sorry. Just how powerful it is, and how much, like, just for so many of us, we've been manipulated out of it. We've been questioned. We were questioned when we would have these knowings. We were questioned or manipulated or challenged, that we started to question ourselves. And so this happened from a really young age in the abusive relationships, where I knew there was cheating. I knew there was things happening, and he'd be like, you're crazy. You're this, you're that, the gaslighting, whatever you want to call it. And now it's had to be, okay, everything you've always felt has been true. Relearn to trust that. Relearn to trust you. So in that, I will just say, if you have never done a cord cutting with a past relationship or people that were in your life that are causing you, taking your energy, like it could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be a friend, do a cord cutting. You can also do this letter, not even for just romantic relationships, but any relationship that you've had to let go of. Whether you decide to give it to that person or not, that is up to you. I feel it depends on the situation, but I think it was a very vulnerable, heart open move to give it. It felt like a vulnerability hangover, handing it over. But the conversation that has arose from us being able to communicate that, and him to really know my heart, my true heart, without like a fighting happening in between, and him being able to share his feelings with me back, super helpful. And I think it can bring closure and just really good communication, that like we never had that communication. We didn't have it in our relationship. But maybe this will create something for you before your relationship is fully done, that maybe this can help you. Like if we had done this 2 years ago and been able to communicate the way we can now, we may have been able to come to some sort of agreement to like reestablish a relationship, right? But even now, I'm just thinking for couples, I'm like, if you're in a current relationship, I hope you listen to this episode. And if you can feel there's resentment building and tension building, and there's past hurts and past things that you've kind of like brushed under the rug that you never actually dealt with or talked about, because I'm noticing now, I'm like, intimacy and connection and communication, those 3 things, most people don't have it in their relationship to the point where it should be for an intimate partnership. This may be a really helpful thing to do. And if they're not in a place to receive it, that's okay. You don't have to give it to them, but write it anyway. And just watch how even therapeutic that is for you. And I just want to reiterate to trust your own intuition, that inner knowing. It's a superpower that you have within you for a reason. And it's accurate as fuck. Okay? It really is. All the times I questioned it, you guys, when you feel it in your body as truth, it was right. It knew. My body knew before my mind did. Your body is so intelligent. Trust it. Okay, that's it. Write the letter. If there's someone in your life you need to write this letter for, If there's a cord cutting meditation you need to do with certain people, if you've had sex with people that you haven't cord cut from, do this. It's so valuable. It's so helpful. And it's just an action you can take on your own to promote your own healing. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful or you know somebody who needs to do this, share it with them. Yeah. And if you're in a current partnership, maybe execute this with your own partner, because I just want you to be intimately connected the way you guys know you should be, without these walls. Like, even him that he never felt safe enough or like never had the courage to share that with me. Imagine we had that open communication way back then. Imagine we were able to be like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to be with you. Obviously that's hurtful, but we can have a freaking conversation about it. Like, sometimes there's going to be hard shit that's going to be hurtful in a relationship. That is normal. But you can't actually communicate or connect or grow a deeper relationship when you're not willing to be honest. Being 100% honest is the first step, despite that there's going to be anger, there's going to be feelings, there's going to be all the stuff. But communicating about the truth of the matter and your true honest feelings is the most powerful thing you can do in a relationship, even when it hurts. So have honest communication. Thank you so much for listening. I know it's scary. Have the courage. Do the thing. I love you guys. Bye.